Where can Joe Public consult the Borough Council's strategic plan for transport?
Should be on the website.
How are they able to offer feedback on that?
Well, I mean, anyone can write to me, and a lot of you do, and I actually do welcome it. One of the problems is that when you're in a full-time job and you're trying to deal with council emails, it can be quite a lengthy process to actually get around to responding. But actually, any of your councillors, you should be able to feed information to, and it should get to me. By all means, send an email direct to me, and so I will feed it in. Because actually, I need the information from you, to shape a lot of what I'm thinking as well. Because I don't have all the answers.
So where can I get sight of your framework?
It should be on the Swindon.gov.uk website.
All right. So
I couldn't tell you where, but it should be on there.
It looks like this. It's not very apparent that it's open to consultation because it looks to me like the official period had closed, but I'm sure you could
we're always open to criticism. And positive on it.
If anybody wants to sign up on this piece of paper afterwards, I'll make sure they get the link to it.
Could we go, so Deb and Peter and then Mark.
I just want to add into the point about consultation. Do you have, obviously the web is one way of getting to you and letters to you, but I know a lot of people who don't use the web. Do you have things like that at the public libraries, at schools?
Yeah, normally all our publications go into all the public libraries. I don't think they go into schools because I think they go to walkies for some reason.
What about as well large companies within around Swindon?
Well, actually, one of the things that I insisted was that we did actually go out to the likes of Nationwide and Intel and Motorola and put stands in the whatever space they had available if they'd let us, so we could actually gauge the response of the people who are working in Swindon, because the people who work in Swindon don't necessarily live in Swindon. We've got about an 18% commute-in rate or something. So, as I said, trying to communicate and trying to get that dialogue between the politicians, the officers, and the public. It's a really difficult task because we'd like to just be able to put out a press release saying this is here, go and have a look at it. But that doesn't hit everyone. So what do you do then? And there is only a finite amount we do. I think all our literature goes into, certainly it will go into the central library. I think it goes into the outlying libraries. These days, unfortunately, the web is the logical place to try and look. I mean, if I can think of any other more effective ways to communicate, then we will try it, because I said ultimately it's in town.
Peter, then Helen, and then Deb's question. Is there anyone else that's got
This chap at the moment.
Adam.
I think he's got two more that I didn't answer.
And one over there. Okay.
2 minutes tonight.
Right. So really quickly, Peter.
You made a point a short while ago about engaging with the public, and when we were talking earlier about free bus passes for older people, and Rod mentioned that it had cost 1.5% on the council tax, and I sensed then what I often sense with your administration, that I believe you have as one of your overriding objectives to deliver the lowest possible council tax that you can, because
value for money.
Okay, because you perceive that that's what the public wants. And what I'd like to ask you is whether you would accept that part of your role of engaging with the public is to try and persuade the public that, in fact, in some instances, increasing council tax on certain types of expenditure might be the right thing to do, if it's A, to the benefit of society as a whole, and B, if it will enable the public to reduce their private expenditure, such as, for instance, on the cost of running their private car.
I mean, yeah, it's very interesting. And certainly when I first stood for election in 2004, the burning question on people's lips was actually council tax increases. And that was probably the one question I was asked. I think in the previous years, council tax had gone up by 42% or something. A hell of a rise. What we are trying to do is deliver an efficient council, and a council that delivers value for money. Now, if, for example, I could deliver, say, free buses for everyone, but the cost to the taxpayer council taxpayer would be 20% increase in their bill. I could put that to the public, and I think I know what the response will be. And I think I know how the media would respond to it, how politicians would respond to it, and actually how a large number of the population would respond to it. Because unfortunately we live in a society where there aren't enough people who do care, and there are too many people who don't. And what we need to try and do is engage those people who don't care and make them care. And that's where education, information, consultation all have parts to play. I'm willing to try it, but I think I know what the response will be. And I'm not being defeatist.
We do consultation every year, and it doesn't matter how you do the consultation, the answer is always the same. People do not want to pay higher levels of council tax than the absolute minimum inflation increase, and that is the feedback that comes every time. Now people will, if you ask them, do they want this and do they want that and do they want everything else, yes, of course they'll say they do. But then ask them to pay for it and then suddenly they don't. And it's one of those conundrums, because tax is tax and nobody wants to pay tax. They don't necessarily value council, they don't see council tax as providing much more than they've really been and whatever. And there's a lot of education to be done. But the reality is, and it's a political reality, that 3 to 4% is about where you have to be. The government themselves tell us we can't be more than 5%, so even if we wanted to be maverick we couldn't.
5% doesn't deliver much.
1% on council tax, you may think it's a huge amount of money, but it's actually £800,000, and we're having to find 10 million savings every year just to stand still. So that's the reality of where we are. So it is a bit of a bogus argument, to be honest.
Rod, but supposing fuel poverty and food poverty was scorching.
Yeah, well, I mean the point.
It became a lot easier to think about chipping into the public purse for public transport because people are having to give it up their cars.
But if the government caps you at a 5% increase.
But I mean, we have a huge number of pensioners in this town paying a quarter of their monthly income in council tax. Now you ask them to pay another 5% a year, I can tell you what the reaction is. It's not good. So it's a huge problem, and it's the way it's funded.
But you start getting into a completely philosophical debate about council tax, which perhaps we should leave for another evening.